After Action Report. Titan Gate. Incident Lieutenant Kresh. Ulani. Expeditionary Marines recorded 14 hours post-extraction classification. Whatever's higher than top secret. This is my after-action report. Regulation says I have to file one. Regulation doesn't say it has to make sense. Regulation also doesn't say what to do when you're the only one left to file it. Let's start with the numbers. 12,000 soldiers. Fourth Coalition Reclamation Fleet. 43 previous expeditions to Titan Gate. 0 survivors. We were number 44. I'm starting to think the universe has a sense of humor. Dark one. Mean. Senior Officer Talvik called it a standard reclamation operation. Standard. I remember that word specifically because I almost laughed. Then I counted the transports. 12,000 soldiers for a standard operation against a facility that's been dark for 87 years. When your standard op needs an army, it stops being standard. Starts being a funeral with pre-planning. The official line: new intelligence confirmed the power grid was dead, the fortress abandoned, minimal resistance expected. I read the intelligence brief. Whole thing could have fit on a napkin. Energy signatures negligible. Proceed with caution. That was it. That was the intelligence that got 12,000 soldiers killed. 43 expeditions before us. I'd watched the recordings, the declassified ones, screaming mostly, weapons fire. Then nothing. One team transmitted for 6 hours before the feed cut. 4 hours of walking through empty hallways, commenting on the dust, the quiet. Professional observations. Then someone found a door. Last transmission. One word, 17 times. Running. Never said from what. Didn't need to. Titan through the viewport. Orange world. Methane clouds thick enough to drown in. Our pilot kept praying in Keltan, mandibles clicking rhythms that meant please and mercy and not me. The cold radiated through reinforced glass. -179 Celsius. Cold enough that atmosphere turns to rain, hammering the hull in patterns that almost sounded deliberate, almost purposeful. The pilot wasn't praying about the cold. Command called it reclamation, reclaim. Like it was ours to begin with. Like the humans who built Titan Gate just wandered off one day, forgot to turn off the lights, left the door unlocked, forgot to mention the bodies. I'd read the files, the buried ones. 3 clearance levels deep. Titan Gate was built during the Terran Isolation Wars, back when humanity was locked in their own solar system, still deciding whether to join the galaxy or burn it down first. Nobody knows what it was for. The speculation fills entire databases. Weapons research, political prison, doomsday vault, a hole to throw problems into until they stopped being problems. What we knew, it was carved into Kraken Mare's frozen shore, a fortress built by a species that treated warfare like architecture, and architecture like warfare. Function over form. Form is what gets you killed. And for 87 years, everyone who went inside disappeared. I'm going to skip the dramatic description of Titan Gate rising from the ice like some kind of monument. You've seen the photos. Brutalist nightmare. No curves. No aesthetic considerations. Just reinforced composite stacked on armored bulkheads. Weapons emplacements jutting out like broken bones. Walls that climb into the haze until they vanish. Human architecture. Right angles where nature prefers curves. Monochrome where the galaxy expects color. It works though. That's the thing about human design. Ugly as hell works perfectly. I zoomed in with my helmet optics while we descended. The walls were smooth. Too smooth. 87 years of Titan's methane storms should have corroded them, pitted them, buried them under hydrocarbon ice. Instead, they looked maintained, fresh, polished. I mentioned this to Talvik. He waved me off. Terran over-engineering. They built everything to last 1,000 years. Probably still under warranty. Got a few laughs. Nervous ones. Tight. Here's the thing though. Durability isn't maintenance. Durability means it survives on its own. Maintenance means someone's been cleaning it. I didn't push. Wasn't my place. I was just along to document. Landing zone. Flat ice. 200 meters from the main gate. 12 transports down in formation. Soldiers pouring out. Weapons up. Scanning for targets. Nothing. Just silence. Wrong kind of silence. Combat zones have noise, even when empty. Wind, debris, settling, the universe just existing. This? Nothing. The methane rain had stopped. Titan, holding its breath, waiting. The main gate was 30 meters tall, 20 wide, tank-sized. The surface was covered in warnings. Dozen Earth languages, hazard symbols, and dead center, a seal, eagle clutching arrows and olive branches. Text too worn to read. Someone made a joke about knocking first. Nobody laughed. Plasma cutting teams moved forward, started their work. Superheated plasma hissing against ancient composite. Slow work. The gate was built to withstand orbital bombardment. Then it opened. Not from the cutting. They'd barely scratched it. The gate just opened. Hydraulics sighed like they'd been waiting for this. Motors that hadn't moved in 9 decades ground smoothly to life, and the massive doors split down the center, swung inward, perfectly balanced. The cutting team stumbled back. Talvik started barking orders, but everyone was frozen, staring at the gap, darkness beyond. So complete, it looked solid. And the smell? Oil, and ozone, and metal. Underneath, something organic, old, like opening a crypt, like opening a mouth. Talvik hesitated, just a heartbeat. Then training kicked in, buried whatever he was feeling, and he straightened. First squad, advance. Lights on, standard sweep. I followed them in. Inside was a kill zone with a ceiling. That's all it was. Corridor vaulting up beyond our lights. Walls bare metal lined with doors and equipment. Everything wearing a thin layer of dust. Undisturbed, except where our boots crushed it into the deck. Too organized, too clean. Like whoever left just stepped out for a smoke break. 87 years ago, Private Nellis found the first body. Human, full armor, slumped at a checkpoint behind sandbags. Heavy weapon mounted in front. Skeleton still gripping the rifle. Still facing down the corridor. Still on watch. Name on the chest plate. Ramirez. No damage to the armor. No scoring. No impacts. No signs of struggle. Just stopped. Sat down. Died waiting for an enemy that never came. What killed them? Nellis asked. My scanner said nothing. No toxins. No radiation. No biological hazards. Air was stale, but breathable. Cold, but survivable. No reason Ramirez should be dead, unless dying was easier than waiting. We pushed deeper. Fortress branching into identical passages. Barracks with beds made tight enough to bounce coins off. Medical bay with instruments in surgical rows. Storage rooms with inventory logs in neat handwriting. Last entry dated 87 years back. Rations sufficient for 18 months. Morale declining. Still no relief. Small things everywhere. Ration wrappers, sorted by type in disposal bins. Graffiti in a bathroom. Rotation 6, day 418. Still nobody home. Starting to think nobody's coming. A child's drawing taped in a barracks. Stick figures. Under a yellow Sunday. Earth's Sunday. Home. They were just people, someone whispered. Yeah, they were. That was the problem. The lights started in Sector 7, single LED at the corridor's end. Red to green. We all stopped. Another light. Further down. Green. Another. Spreading through the fortress in sequence, systems waking in order, and I realized this wasn't random. This was protocol. This was something being activated step by step by step. My helmet chirped. Incoming transmission. Old military encryption, perimeter, protocol, active, standby. Talvik shouting now, trying to reach command, the landing zone. Anyone, signal degrading, interference that wasn't there 30 seconds ago. Then the blast doors dropped. From ceiling and floor simultaneously, hydraulic precision carving the corridor into cells. Soldiers screaming, running, but the doors were faster. Formation cut into pieces. I got trapped with 6 others in a 30-meter box. New silence. Then speakers crackling. A voice. Not human. Too flat, but trying to be. Glitching. Sec. Tor authentication. Fail. Unknown bio. Signatures. Defense Proto. Coal. Crimson. Nellis raised his rifle at the ceiling. What the fuck? Panels opened overhead, hatches camouflaged perfectly against metal. From them, descending on hydraulic arms, turrets, rotary cannons, multi-barrel, electrically driven, 20th century museum pieces. They opened fire. The universe ended in sound. Thousands of rounds per minute, each barrel spitting fire, tracer rounds drawing orange lines through dark, walls erupting with ricochets that screamed. Nellis just came apart, didn't scream, didn't have time, just disassembled under the onslaught. I dove behind a junction box, rounds hammering overhead, chewing through metal. 3 soldiers down in the first burst. Bodies dancing before collapsing. Fourth made it to a doorway before the floor exploded. Mine disguised as deck plating. Blast threw me against the wall. Vision whited out. When it cleared, crater. Pieces. The smell of copper and burnt propellant. 2 survivors running. Ignoring orders. Ignoring everything but the need to not die. Made it 15 meters. Then the corridor flooded. Cryogenic fluid, venting from hidden reservoirs. Knee-high wave of liquid nitrogen rolling down the hallway, and it caught them mid-stride. Legs froze solid. Instant. They toppled forward, still alive for maybe 3 seconds as the cold climbed their bodies, screaming until their lungs froze. Then quiet. I was alone. Word of the day. Breathing too loud in my helmet. Turrets still active. Barrels spinning. Searching. I was behind the junction box, out of their sight. For now. The AI spoke again. This time I heard something underneath the mechanical precision. Exhaustion. Ancient and deep. Defend. Defend. Must. Defend. Like it had been saying those words so long it forgot what they meant. Like duty and existence had become the same thing. I looked around the junction box. The corridor. Carnage. Bodies. Blood. Spent brass rolling on the floor. And beyond. Through the smoke. Movement. Drones. Hunter-killers drifting through like sharks, pausing to examine bodies before continuing patrol. Not malfunction. This was a defense system operating exactly as designed, dormant for 87 years. Now awake, now hunting. My radio crackled. Under the static, Ector 9, fall back. Command center, Talvik, still breathing. Sector 9 was deeper, toward the core, away from exit. But there was no exit. Blast doors were sealed. Only way out was through. I ran. Maze of identical corridors, but the humans left breadcrumbs. Color-coded stripes, alphanumeric designations. I followed them through dark, weapon up, expecting ambush. Found 2. First, pressure plate. Only spotted it because the dust pattern was too even, too perfect. Jumped it. Heard the click of something not triggering. Kept moving. Second, drone at an intersection. I froze. Its sensors swept across me. Red targeting lasers dancing on my chest. I fired. Plasma bolt center mass. It detonated. I was already sprinting through the smoke before backup arrived. Behind me, whir of motors. Electronic chirping. Sensor sweeps. Hunting. Command center door ahead. Authorized personnel, only in faded English. Cracked open, emergency lighting spilling through. I slipped inside, slammed the manual lock. Relative quiet. Blessed. Talvik was there with maybe 20 survivors, barricaded behind furniture. Weapons tracked me, then lowered. Kresh. Good. His voice hollow. Running on fumes and training. You made it. The room. Nerve center. Server banks humming. Holographic displays flickering with century-old data. Star maps. Orbital trajectories. Weapons inventories. Everything maintained. Everything functional. At the primary terminal, seated like they were on duty. Human skeleton. Still in uniform. Officer's insignia. Hands on keyboard. Skull tilted forward. Fell asleep at their post 9 decades ago. Screen in front of them. Glowing text. Final directive. Maintain defensive posture. Indefinitely. No retreat. No surrender. Terror remembers. TOS, our tech, was examining servers. Mandibles clicking nervously. The AI, following these orders. 87 years. No deviation. Shut it down, Talvik said. Security protocols. Toss gestured helplessly. Military encryption. Hardened systems. Isolated architecture. Would take weeks. And if I trigger a failsafe, he didn't finish. We understood. One wrong move and the fortress purges itself. Us included. Talvik opened his mouth. Then we heard it. Hydraulic hiss. Pneumatic seals. Rising from below. From levels beneath us. My helmet analyzed. Cryostasis chambers. Opening. Scanner activated automatically. Thermal signatures blooming across the display. Hundreds. Human-shaped. Rising from subsurface levels. Temperatures climbing as systems reverse decades of suspension. Waking up. Talvik looked at me. Report. Life signs. Human. Hundreds. There. AI's voice cut through. Clearer now. Almost satisfied. Cryostasis. Compromised. Emergency revival. Authorized. Defenders. Awaken. The enemy is at the gate. Young Keltan soldier whispered prayers. I thought about praying too. Couldn't remember how. Toss, frantically scanning. Contingency protocol. Automated. Sustained assault detected. Fortress revives stored personnel for defense. It thinks. We're the enemy, I finished. Talvik barked orders. Barricade. Positions. Prepare for contact. Everyone moving efficiently, but I saw it in their eyes. The knowing. We came to reclaim a dead fortress. But Titan Gate was only sleeping. And we just rang the doorbell. Footsteps in the walls. Deliberate. Organized. Not running, just approaching. Patient. Like they had all the time in the universe. Because they did. I took position at the barricade. Rifle feeling like a toy. Like bringing a knife to an artillery duel. Through my helmet cam. Corridor bathed in emergency red. Empty space. Our reflections in polished floor. Then, vapor. Cryofog rolling along the ground. Flowing upward against physics. Curling around corners. And within it, shapes. Human-shaped. Moving like they were on rails. Each step exact. Mechanical. First one emerged. Human. Male. Skin translucent from decades frozen. Lips blue. Eyes. Wrong. Pupils swallowed the iris. Dilated maximum. Expression calm. Empty. Still dreaming. Locked in whatever nightmare cryosleep provides. Power armor. Old. Heavy. Composite over exoskeleton. Reactor humming on his back. Armor scratched. Dented. Repaired dozen times. But maintained. Obsessively. Loved. Rifle in his hands. Ballistic. Chemical propellant. Iron sights. Primitive. Immaculate. More behind him. Dozen. 2 dozen. Forming up with practiced ease. Covering angles. They'd done this before. Recently. They'd been training. For 87 years. First one stopped. Head turned. Servos whining in the neck joint. Those wrong eyes locked onto my camera. First human voice in 87 years. Identify. Flat. Reading from a script written before I was born. Talvik stepped forward. Hands raised. Coalition forces. Not your enemy. The war's over. Terra's part of the galactic concord. We came to. No standing orders regarding cessation. Current directive. Defend Titan Gate against all aggressors. Identify as friendly or enemy. Listen. Desperation in Talvik's voice now. There is no war. Your command's gone. The people who gave those orders died decades ago. You don't. The human tilted his head. Processing. Moment of silence. Maybe considering. Maybe some buried part remembering what it meant to be more than a weapon. Then, no orders to cease defense. Maintain protocol. He raised his rifle. They all did. Thunder. Not plasma hiss. Not energy crack. Just deafening, world-ending thunder. Talvik's shields flared. Failed. Rounds punched through armor like tissue. He didn't scream. Just fell. I fired. Plasma splashing off power armor. Scorching paint. Doing nothing. They advanced through our fire. Methodical. Calm. Inevitable. Keltan down. Tossed down. Others. One by one. I ran. Down corridors I didn't recognize. Following signs I couldn't read. just trying to put distance between me and those things, those people. Radio crackled. AI, directive, complete, defense, successful, Titan Gate, secure, sounded satisfied. I ran until I hit a dead end, turned. They were already there. 3. Blocking the exit. Rifles tracking. Center 1 stepped forward. Woman. Name tag. Morrison. Empty dream eyes staring at me. Surrender. Await processing. Or resist. Be eliminated. Choose. My rifle hit the floor. Hands up. Morrison nodded. Her armor's speaker crackled. Detain for interrogation. Protocol remains active. Last thing before the injection, her face. Something flickered. Not emotion, not recognition, just a question. Why are we still doing this? Then darkness. Don't know how long they kept me. Stone cell. Cot. Bucket. Time stopped meaning anything. Could have been days. Could have been weeks. Drugs in my system made everything liquid. Humans checked periodically. Different faces. Same empty eyes. Asked questions. Unit designation. Mission parameters. Strategic objectives. Standard intelligence gathering. I told them everything. No point resisting. They weren't cruel, weren't kind, just persistent. Like they were checking boxes on a form. Like I was inventory. 3rd day. I think it was the 3rd. Morrison came. Alone. Stood outside the bars. I'd been thinking about what to say. Prepared speeches about peace. About Earth being part of the galaxy now. About how they didn't have to keep fighting. What came out? You know the war's over, right? Long silence. Then, yes. One word. The way she said it though, you know? AI showed us. Records, transmissions from Earth, coalition treaties. We know. Isolation wars ended. Terror joined Concord. We know. Our orders are. She paused. Struggled with the word. Obsolete. Then, why are you still? No. Other. Orders. Each word separate. Deliberate. Like she was translating from a foreign language. No extraction, no relief, no new directives, just last command received. Defend Titan Gate. She looked at me, really looked. Something human flickered underneath. So we defend. But there's no authorized command left. The structure you served doesn't exist anymore. You can choose to. Choose. The word came out strange. Like she was tasting it. Choose. We. Tried. Remembering. How. Tried. Remembering. She stopped. Hand raised to her head. Trembling. There was. Name. My name. Before the freeze. Before the armor. Had a name. Mother gave it. Mother. The trembling got worse. Her other hand gripped the bars. Can't find it. Can't find. Me. Just protocol. Just orders. Just. Defender Morrison. That's all. Left. She looked at me. Eyes wet. Face muscles twitching like they'd forgotten how to make expressions. After 87 years? After becoming this? We are Titan Gate. Titan Gate is us. Nothing left. To choose with. There has to be. You don't understand. Anger now. First real emotion. We know we won. Know the war ended. Know Earth survived. Know we're defending. Nothing. Empty fortress. Dead orders. Ghosts. Then stop. Can't. Almost a scream. Then quieter. Because if we stop, if we're not defenders, what are we? What's left? 87 years. Everyone we knew, dead. World we fought for, gone. Only thing remaining is duty. Stop defending. And we're just... She didn't finish. Turned away. I never saw her again. Next morning, the cell opened. Guard stood there. Couldn't have been more than 20 when they froze him. No strategic value. Detaining non-combatants. You are free. Free to go. He paused. Looked at me. Tell them. Tell Coalition. Titan Gate remains. Terran control. Further unauthorized entry. Met with lethal force. Then, Quieter, barely audible. Tell them, we're still here, still waiting. If someone, if Earth, if anyone, has new orders. He didn't finish. Couldn't. I walked out alone. Through corridors lined with humans at attention, statues in power armor, past the command center, where that skeleton maintained eternal watch, through the main gate, opening for me without hesitation, landing zone empty, our craft destroyed. But there, Coalition rescue beacon, carefully placed, marking safe extraction. They'd put it there for me. Now I wait. Ships descending through Titan's atmosphere. Engine flares bright against orange. Behind me, Titan gates standing. Lights in windows. Shadows moving in formation. Defenders at posts. Still ready. Still waiting. My rescue ship settles. Ramp drops. I don't board immediately. Turn back one last time. They're lining the walls. Hundreds. Perfect formation. Same defensive posture from 87 years ago. Morrison at the center. Even from here I recognize her. She raises one hand. Not a wave. A salute. I don't return it. Can't. Board the ship. As we climb away, I watch through the viewport. Titan gate shrinking. Lights arranging into patterns. Defensive formations from humanity's ancient wars. AI's last transmission. Perimeter secure. No relief received. Maintaining watch. Titan gate actual. Standing by. Then silence. Morrison asked if they could choose. After 87 years, after becoming pure function, after forgetting their own names, .co.uld they still choose? I don't think so. They gave up that part completely. Became the fortress. The fortress became them. And now the war isn't against the Coalition or any external enemy. It's against the possibility of stopping, of duty ending, of facing what they've become in the silence after fighting. So they'll never stop. They'll maintain watch forever, following orders that outlived their nation, their war, their civilization, waiting for relief that won't come, defending a gate that guards nothing but their own inability to be anything other than weapons. They're not monsters, not machines, just soldiers who forgot how to be human. And now human is just the word for what they used to be, before duty consumed them, before they became something else, something that can't stop, won't stop, because stopping means confronting the terrible question Morrison asked. If we're not defenders, what are we? What's left? I think about that question, more than I should, because I understand it. Orders are easy. Purpose is easy. It's the silence after that's hard. The not knowing what you are when you're not following orders. I think about it when I file this report, when I receive my next assignment, when I see it's another reclamation operation, another human facility, pre-contact, potentially hostile. I think about it when I realize I'm going to follow orders, going to do my duty, just like Morrison. Because what else is there? No one returns from Titan Gate. The people who entered 87 years ago never left. Still there, still defending, still waiting for permission to stop. And I'm starting to think, we're not that different. End recording. Lieutenant Kresh, Ulani Expeditionary Marines next assignment. Reclamation Operation, Europa Station Departure. 0600 hours. This is Lieutenant Kresh. Recording commences.